Okay, good morning, everyone. So we are here this morning to speak to you guys about where we are at in T&TEC with respect to training, especially our vocational training as it relates to post-COVID, right? Before we go into this discussion, I want to get a little bit into the background of T&TEC so you can appreciate the Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission. So I'm just having a little problem with the screen. 1 second, sorry. So that has been fixed. The Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission came into existence in 1946 through an act of parliament. Right? The intention at that time was to ensure that central government retained control of the commodity. T&TEC was responsible for the generation, transmission, and distribution of electricity throughout the country until 1994. Now, it'll be interesting to note that as of early of 1895, electricity was part of Trinidad and Tobago through a guy called Edgar Tripp, and it was privately owned until the government took it over in 1946. Yeah. Today, the Commission generates, transmits, and distributes electricity for the island of Tobago. In Trinidad, however, the Commission is only responsible for the transmission and distribution of electricity. Do you know that at any given time, between 900 to 1300 megawatts of power is consumed in Trinidad and between 48 to 51 megawatts in Tobago? Yeah. This is why I can talk to you now, because we have you running. We have you up and running. The country's up and running because of us, and that's why. So, yeah. Generation for Trinidad is provided through 3 independent power producers. At this time, PowerGen, Trinity Power, and Trinidad Generation Unlimited. Cove Power Station, which is owned and operated by T&TEC, provides generation requirements for the island of Tobago. So, how do we get the technical and vocational skills that we require to keep the power flowing in your homes and businesses? Previously called the T&TEC Trade School, this facility conducted robust apprenticeship programs, which were 5 years in duration. The program has graduated over 800 tradesmen since its inception in 1954. The apprenticeship program produced skilled, competent tradesmen in both lines and electrical craft. The last batch of apprentices graduated in 1999. A new training facility commenced operations in 2005. So there was a break between 1999 and 2005. We would have had no training at T&TEC, right? The new craft training program was introduced and was designed around a competency-based training model, and is now completed in 3.5 years. It comprises of 1 year at the training facility and 2.5 years on-the-job training. So, how was training conducted pre-COVID? So let's go back to January of this year. Yeah, not a long time ago. Yeah, a lot has changed in a short space of time. Training pre-COVID. The function of training plays a significant role in the Commission's existence, and it ensures that the company meets its strategic objectives through a highly trained, skilled, empowered, and motivated workforce. Classroom sessions are usually held at one of our many training facilities located at various parts of Trinidad and Tobago. All our training sessions involved the enforcement of relevant safety protocols. Now, that was prior to we basically did training both on the craft side, which is the technical vocational, and we also trained or developed our employees from the officers in other skills. The craft training program itself, 20 to 26 participants in a class usually, right? Field and group exercises usually done in smaller groups of 4, supervised by a team of instructors. Participants will have shared the tools and equipment, training and tools and equipment were clean as necessary, right? Just gonna show a little video now of what the craft training program does and a few of the items there, so you can get an idea on it. Okay, so that was the video. Then the COVID situation happened. COVID affected the world at large. T&TEC has not escaped its effects. We basically would have put together some guidelines through HSC to continue operations. The importance of maintaining health and safety standards more so in a COVID environment. More so in a COVID environment would be of paramount importance, especially since T&TEC is an essential service under the Industrial Relations Act. What that means is that T&TEC must keep functioning no matter what. From hurricane, storm, COVID, alien attacks, anything, T&TEC must continue so that we can continue living and enjoying the commodity that we need. And it's not really a desire, it's a need to have electricity in our homes and businesses. So within that period of time, training would have stopped, but T&TEC would have continued working. We had to make sure our employees were safe, and our HSC manager, who's sitting with me today, played a very important role in continuing the operations and continuing the safety of workers. That I have to say, no one got infected while at work during that period, and I want to thank him for that support. That was very important. It was a lot of work on his part. So the guidelines, I'm going to go into some guidelines now that HSC had been instrumental in formulating to ensure this. So an employee coming into the office must wear their mask, they must get their temperatures checked. We cleaned everything at all times. So before we talked about the tools were cleaned when necessary. Now they'll be cleaned a couple times a day. Everything would have been sanitized. Not that we weren't cleaning stuff properly before, but the reality is that we need to ramp up to stick with the guidelines to ensure that viruses will not be transmitted. That's any type of virus, actually. Post-COVID, technology has now become a big part of how we do things. So generally, in training as well, we have been using virtual training courses through Microsoft Teams, virtual meetings as well for the main organization. It's challenging as a trainer to make sure that you have engagement when you use these software. But as Rodney had said prior session, you have to find ways to ensure that people keep engaged, but that the technology does not affect the learning. So that's important. Now, I'm going to go into a little bit of how has training adjusted in alignment with the new normal. So we spoke about this already in terms of that assistance from our HSC department in getting the training environment ready for training going forward. So screening. So you're starting to screen now. So security, once you go into a training course, security will conduct the temperature screening for all participants prior to entering the compound. Security will also do a pre-screening questionnaire for each participant. And there's a safety briefing that is conducted normally within each training course, and it's now going to include all the COVID precautions prior to the commencement of the session. You see signage explaining the capacity of persons allowed in training at any one time. This would have been put up in all our training centers by the HSC personnel. So all the other posters and infographics about COVID are posted out through the commission. We have a limit of contact now. So we provide the hand sanitizer upon entry to the training room. All participants would wear a face mask, which covers their mouth and nose while at the facility. Facilitators must wear at minimum a face shield when you're in front of the class, because you obviously won't be able to teach probably with a mask on your face, but you need to at least have some protection for those who are in the class as well. So the face shield is used for that option. Facilitators and participants must maintain a physical distance of 6 feet during the classroom interaction. So again, HSC would have assisted to set up the classrooms in a way where we have a sign as you walk in the door with maximum participants that could come in, and we follow that, and the seats are set up to align with that new normal. Seats are, of course, 6 feet away from each other. We've started to look at utilizing accelerated training modules to limit, reduce session durations. So there would be a blend of training for presentations and other items that you can do on your own via video or other types of methods. Send back, so the information won't all be just presented to you face to face. There will be a way you can do some classroom prep before you come out, and then even after you can continue with some of the exercises. Yeah, we actually started to provide individually packaged refreshments to ensure people won't have that contact. And we encourage the hand hygiene during session breaks. As well, we would have increased the airflow, so we try as best as possible, depending on which location we use. We can shut off the AC units and open the windows and doors. Also increase the number of sessions so that the persons would still get the training. However, we would basically have a lot less persons in the room at any given time. This is where I want to get a little bit into the technical training now. Technical training, which is the training facility our trainees are actually in a 3.5-year program. 1 year of that is sitting in a classroom, as used to be. We have now tried to drive the training, and this will be going forward. Now, right now, we don't have a batch of trainees in the system, but we're going to have one in later this year. And once they come in, they'll have a more individually driven classroom side instead of instructor driven. So in the past, the instructor would be driving and pushing them, getting the stuff done daily with them. However, we have to find a way to get them to now more individually driven, because the competencies must still be met. And any day we are dealing with electricity, and we cannot play with that. So people have to be properly competent. So the classes will still function on competency-based training through online tutorials and exercises, right? Rather than being placed in a classroom for duration. So it would be a little less. There's a hybrid model that depending on the learning style of training. So when you get into a classroom, you will assess your trainees as instructors and determine who could take what type of training, and you will individually deal with the trainees instead of just put them all in a room and sitting down there trying to train them. So the actual classroom sessions are going to be online as well as classroom, but limit the classroom exposure. And we're going to have a different way we'll deal with the competency-based training, where we will actually find a way to assess them through videos, through tutorials that will be online. So the participants will have their instructors interact with them more on a one-on-one, and they will have to learn their lessons through that forum and respond to that forum. So there will be a blend. Right, so as we said before, the instructors will do the initial analysis and treat with the group depending on their learning style. Because everybody's learning style is different. So we need to ensure we don't get anyone lost within the system, because sometimes, and I would give the example of when we move to Teams for even simple things as meetings, some people just couldn't have gotten into it and understood how to do it. And then there are times within in meetings where people would be calling for someone in the meeting, and you see they're present there, but they're not, because they're not answering. So they're present on the screen, but they've gone somewhere else. So these are things that we need to make sure that doesn't happen in the training. That's why it has to be a blended learning, and you must have an interaction with your instructor at all times in some format. We're still working on the IS, the logistics, into how we're going to do it. But the practical sessions, though, once we finish the year, practical sessions are going to be in small group sizes, as small as possible. We used 4 before. We will try to use 2 to 4, but we will try to carry it up for shorter periods, but we'll increase the frequency of the sessions to ensure they'll still get through their work, their schedule in time met. So we will be doing smaller group sessions for social distancing, and everything would be looked at, and it will be done in a way where, again, they will have more individual attention. So because of COVID, we would basically be limiting that exposure. However, we will ensure that the trainees get a more intimate session so that they will get through their curricula and learn what they need to learn to complete the course. This will probably start in the last quarter of this year, because we have a batch coming in. So by then we'll have the system. So this is new to us. We're now going to put it into place. But it has to happen, and it probably will have some areas where we'll have to tweak as we go along. Hopefully by the second batch we'll have it perfectly right, and maybe it can really be the new normal moving forward. So that is where we are at in terms of our technical training in T&TEC. So I guess we could go to the question and answer session once we're ready.